this video I'm going to teach you how to complete the square. It's a technique for solving quadratic equations. We already know how to solve them by factoring and by graphing. Completing the square is nice because it gives us a way of getting exact values when we solve quadratic equations, and we don't have to know, and they don't have, they're more precise than any of the other values that we could get. Completing the square is related to knowing what a perfect square trinomial is. A perfect square trinomial is just the expanded form of a binomial that's been squared. So x plus 2 squared gives us x squared plus 4x plus 4, and x plus 6 squared gives us x squared plus 12x plus 36. And these are both examples of perfect square trinomials. Notice that the middle term, the x term, is related to the number we have here. And it's 2, at least this part of it, is always twice as much as the number in the binomial that got squared. And the last term is always the square of what was here. So 6 squared. That same thing is true with 4 and 2, and this 4 and 2. Completing the square relies upon this understanding to solve quadratic equations. Let me show you how. If I took an equation like this, x squared plus 2x minus 1 equals 0, and I thought about what numbers is this part of the equation hinting at for a perfect square? Well, if the middle term is always twice the number that goes here, well then in that case this must be x plus 1 squared. Would be the factored version of the perfect square that starts x squared plus 2x. Well, this perfect square trinomial doesn't end with minus 1. It gives us x squared plus 2x plus 1. So to complete the square, we end up needing to add 1 right here so that we have a perfect square trinomial. X squared plus 2x plus 1 when I add it right here. Well, if I add something on one side of the equation, to keep the equation balanced, I have to add it on the other. So on the other side of the equal sign, I now have to do plus 1. And since I had 0, I get 1 now. But remember that this still said, we started with x squared plus 2x minus 1. So I need a minus 1 over here. The reason that we complete the square like this is because now I can take this expression and factor it really simply. It's x plus 1 squared. I still have this minus 1 on this side, and then I have 1 right here. Well, when we're solving equations, we always try to get the term with x by itself. So from here I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Now I have x plus 1 squared equals 2. To solve from here, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Square roots have a positive version and a negative version, and so to get both the values from this equation, I'm always going to write plus or minus the square root. Subtracting 1 to get x by itself, and I end up with x equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 2. That's completing the square.